listen, if you're in a situationship, if you are in a rotation, if you're the ex they keep coming back to, you are not the one. They're not going to choose you. They're not going to stay loyal to you. They're not going to end up with you. If somebody respects you, if they care about you, they're never ever going to turn you into a joke. And if you are their ex, their buddies are laughing at them for going back to you all the time. If you are in their situationship or rotation, you are in their group chat, getting laughed at, guaranteed. If you're a woman, their homies know all about you. All about you. If you're a man, their girls don't even know your real name. You are known as a code name. Somebody who wants to be with you, if they respect you, they're not going to turn you into a joke. The situationship, the ex, the rotation is a joke. They're not going to be with that person in the long run. That person is there to warm their little body while they stay on the hunt for the one that they want to be with.
Yeah, they expect shit to just go back to normal. And they just gaslit you, triggered an emotional reaction, gave you the silent treatment for some dumb shit. The silent treatment where you apologize for shit that you actually never even did. And after all they've put you through emotionally, they really think in their rabbit ass mind that you should just move past the shit. And how triggering is that? Here you are, upset, crying, frustrating, wanting to literally scream. And they're acting like shit never happened. But this is part of the personality, the ego, the entitlement. They always get their way. And when they don't, some fuck shit immediately ensues. And you somehow always seem to be the target. And you know something? It scars you. It changes you. And you take on this dark ass meanness. Makes you quickly get upset about things. It causes you to make behavioral changes because your home life is fucking up your emotional balance. And think about that. Someone who loves you has an expectation that you don't deserve a response. And if you get one, it's them yelling and screaming, shaming and blaming, all while you just want to be fucking loved.
If you are goal-oriented in the process of self-improvement or self-change, this is an orientation which will guarantee failure. The only reason to improve yourself is yourself. Nothing external, not money, not work, not other people, not your mates, not your children, not your nation, none of this. Only you.
What lies beneath your feet? Sacred grounds, watered with tears of blood. Shall we begin? Shall we begin? Shall we begin?
And turn the mic on. Hail the chat. Thank you guys so much for being here. Greatly appreciate you. Tonight, we're going to go over a review of some of the creators that we have covered in the past. And with me tonight, my co-host, the man himself, Coach Randy White. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing okay, man. Yeah, it's hot out here too. We're dying.
No, it's a heat wave all across the globe, right? Dude, I gotta say the intro is absolutely amazing, man. How long did it take you to perfect that?
And that actually was a bunch of clips from different things, and I put that together on yesterday. I just spent the day about 2 hours.
Yeah,
about 2 hours.
I love it.
Thank you, brother. Well, Shepherd of Fire was an intro that I used on my first channel, author Stephen Walton. I built a team of people and went through narc abuse. That fell apart, as things do when we, get caught up. But the spirit of it, helping people, fighting for, standing up for yourself. That is the energy of this channel, and this is what we're doing. What we're doing here, leading by example, fighting through our own pain, bettering ourselves, and trying to educate and coach others into a more healthy direction in their lives. And so that song just fit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's that warrior's journey, right? It's the warrior's journey.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, I mean, and shout out to Lisa Liu, and I was talking to her a few weeks ago. She concentrates. She concentrates on women who have been through narcissistic relationships, and she was giving us a shout out because she says, "I'm glad there's a men's space out there, men talking about what they've been through and being brave, because it does take a measure of, being confident, being brave in order to be a man in general, and talking about things that have hurt us in abusive relationships and situations. I think it's due to our ego, due to our maybe a toxic, but a masculine ego. It's hard to admit we've been hurt and that we've been through things. And, we always want to come off as being strong. You want to appear to be the provider, the protector. And it's hard for people like that to admit that they've been through things.
Absolutely.
How do you approach the men that you coach that have been through, what we've been through?
It's pretty much, you're spot on, there's so much societal pressure when it comes to being a man and just sucking it up, right? Just suck it up, get back to work, nobody cares, work harder type mentality. And I think that's, it couldn't be further from the truth. I think people care. It's just like a lot of people, when it comes to, a masculine man, we don't want to be focused on the problem, right? That's kind of more of like, living in a scarcity and victim mentality. So, I think society is really looking for men just to step up and, like you said, to lead by example, and one of the things I tell men that are getting out of narcissistic abusive relationships is it's all about radical acceptance. It's all about the truth and radical acceptance. Right. And there's nothing more freeing than being able to just come out and say, hey, this is the truth of what happened. In no way, shape, or form does this make anybody, weaker than or a victim. It's you're a victim of this abuse, not of life. And so that's kind of the, the direction that I take.
Yeah, radical acceptance is needed. And like the journey that I took when it came to accepting my own faults and like where I allowed it to happen, because I think that for most of us, at least people that I talk to, you go through these rotations, the narcissistic abuse cycle. And there are always points when you can say no more, close the door, not talk to them ever again, go no contact. And, for myself, I had to accept over and over again that I allowed it back into my life, and I allowed the devaluation. I had to take responsibility for myself in order to forgive myself. But forgiving, I think, isn't just that. It's also taking a stand and never allowing it to happen again. Because what's the use of forgiving yourself if you're going to allow it to keep going on?
Right. No, and I think that's a perfect example of kind of that threshold in this, recovery journey is where you kind of go from that why me to, what can this teach me? How can I become empowered by this? And you start to really look inward at your own patterns and your own decision making that kind of led you here. And again, like we talk about, in no way, shape, or form does this justify the abuse, but it does put the victim in a position of control. Now you have control of the situation because you have ownership. You're taking accountability for your part, which then leads you into understanding, how can I fix this? What can I learn? How can this empower me to make different decisions as I go, forward? So I think that's perfect. There's always that threshold for everybody from victim to empowerment. And that's kind of where to coach is how do we get that to switch a little bit quicker and find that silver lining?
Yeah, I mean, I've recently started talking to a few people. I'm not a coach by any means. I'm just giving advice and talking to others. But like, how difficult has it been in your experience to get someone to just go no contact, to understand their worth, that there's no going back? I mean, what is your success rate, I guess, in the advice that you give?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not very successful. The majority of victims, myself included, to go no contact right out the gate is extremely hard. Maybe like less than a percentage of people are able to really, really do that. And it takes so much strength and courage. But what I coach to is like, the highest percentage, say 99% of people break that no contact, at least focus on the pattern, right? What can you learn from breaking no contact? Here's how it's going to affect you. But as long as you're able to look at the pattern and start to identify like, whoa, this is really happening. Look at how they're rewriting history. Look at how they're changing, the narrative. Look how they're gaslighting. Look how they're getting more aggressive. Just look at that pattern. But for the majority of people, it's not easy to go no contact right out the gate.
It is. You're absolutely right, and I don't shame anyone for it. Well, when I do talk or give advice, I just say, look, this is my history. I went back over and over again. I allowed it back in the door. I made that text message. I thought that there was empathy or heart, some type of heart that I was dealing with, and there wasn't. It was, it's that person is all self-centered. So I don't shame, but I also recognize that a person can only help themselves. I can only help myself. My friends, my family, they couldn't help me. I had to make that decision. I had to make that leap, and it's an incredibly self-empowering thing, one of many, as we learn about ourselves, why we go back, why we let it back in our lives. I've learned more about myself as an individual going through this journey than anything else in my life, and to a degree, I feel like I wasn't deserving of that, but at the same time, I took a loss and turned it into a win, which is, I think, something we all should do. Turn this into a major win by continuing to progress, knowing yourself, loving yourself, being a better friend, continuing on, and growing as a person. That's the win you can take out of this, guys, no matter what it was.
I mean, and that's the biggest win at the end of the day. There's a couple key things that you touched on. One would be, this is, to me, the biggest self-discovery journey of your life. Once you see narcissistic abuse, once you see the mask fall off and you see these kind of people and this evilness, you'll never unsee it. It's a complete shatter of everything you thought you knew as far as people, love, and how people show up, right? You finally start to see that there are wolves in sheep clothing, right? Yeah. And then that takes you on this self-discovery journey, and there's nothing better. And in this life, there's only two kinds of mindsets, right? There's a fixed mindset, and a fixed mindset's really about, this is just the way it is. This is life. This always happens to me. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. But then you have the growth mindset, which is like, okay, life isn't fair, but what can I learn from it? What can I learn from this, little, hiccup or this challenge or this setback in order to propel me to the next level of where I'm trying to go? So as long as you're learning as you fail, they say fail forward, right? This is one of the most important things, because in narcissistic abuse, and I'm getting ready to do a video on this, there's a tremendous amount of setbacks, right? That's what we're talking about. You break no contact, it's a setback. It's a pitfall, right? But that's going to happen. Get back up and keep walking forward. What can you learn from that pitfall in order to change the direction and continue to climb the ladder to wherever you want to go?
Yeah. Well said, sir. Thank you. Guys, please check out Randy White's channel, his Instagram. That's all in the description. Take a look. You will not be disappointed. I wanted to say thank you to everybody. I want to say hail to the chat before we begin. I'm sending my son to Florida, and if anybody would mind helping me out, sending a few dollars so that I can give it to him while he's on vacation for his graduation present, going to see his girlfriend back home. $5, $10. I greatly appreciate it. If you can help me out, I've given everything I have, but the economy is not being nice to me. And also, if you're interested in becoming a channel member, please link in the chat. I have unlisted videos, content that's specifically for members alone. And also, if you want to go back far enough and see me acting out It's back there. It's all back there. See the progression of myself, how I changed, the enlightenments that I came to, and the worst version of me into who I am today. Thank you guys. I think that it's I put that under paid content because I don't want to put all my ugly stuff out there. But for those of you who struggle and you think about can I change? Can I get past this? Why do I keep going back? Those of you that go through what's called reactive abuse, which is really just reacting to someone else's craziness. There's an entire list of content that I have in my members section to show you we're not all perfect, and you don't get to this stage without healing is ugly. You don't get to it without going through some ugly parts. CJH says narcissists are like vampires, sucking your sanity dry, but with more selfless and less sunlight. Yeah, more selfies and less sunlight. Yeah, and sparkles. Yeah, they're not sparkling vampires, CJ. Thank you for being here. Adventures with Beth, fellow survivor and thriver. Good to see you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. That's a strong woman right there, Coach. She survived a malignant and had executed an escape plan and got away from it. So she's probably one of the. It is. She's one of the strongest women that I know. What's up? Bad Take Tina Bojan, another member of the Rogue team. So over there on Author Stephen Walton, where we cover entertainments and occasionally narcissists and entertainments. Thank you so much. She's another survivor, narcissistic mother, decided not to pass on pain, healed herself, raised her boys without passing on pain. Congratulations. A wonderful hero out there in the community. Jessica's out here, another survivor. Hail the chat. Good to see you, Jessica. Thank you so much for being here. Ravenclaw, this song makes me want to cross the street without my parents' permission. Well, you go right ahead and do that. Tyler, that's Quaff is my friend Tyler. He's been a fan of mine for several years. Good to see you back. Thank you so much, man. It's good to see you, brother. Let's see. Want to make sure I don't miss anybody. And somebody came into the chat earlier, Randy, and said, and then they deleted the chat, but it said, "Oh, I see Sam Vaknin's right in the center of the thumbnail. That makes sense." Yeah, he's a narcissist. I'm playing to his ego. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You know how to prime him up.
Oh, absolutely. Well, when we first did the show and covered Sam, he shared it out. He contacted us. He was, he even, Randy, he even put it down to the minute where we were covering him. He was like 24:39. They began covering me.
I'm sure of it.
But Sam Vaknin,
clips, man. It's all about the clip.
It's absolutely. But Sam is, he's a self-aware. He has borderline personality disorder. He has narcissism. He has, among other things. And he's an educator. He's self-aware. He explains exactly who he is, how he sees things, and he does it astutely. He's a resource that I've found invaluable. So I really do appreciate Sam. And that was me not stroking his ego. I'm just being honest. What's going on? Roman of the Empire, another survivor, to son of a narcissistic parent. Good to see you, my brother. Thank you so much. If you have the time, Roman, you're welcome to join. Welcome to jump on the panel. All right, so let's see. Oh, what's up, Shawn? Good to see Shawn K Howerton in the chat. We covered her not too long ago. We're going to be looking at some of her content, and Shawn's going to be joining the panel next week. Looking forward to that. Thank you for being here. Let's see. I want to make sure there's a podcast. There is a podcast somewhere that had a Hollywood insider who pointed out how famous people were placed there because of horrible favors. Yeah, that's author Stephen Walton content. We talk about that over there. Go check out that channel. We're not going to talk about Groves and Gold Juice here. What's up, Colibri Flyer? What's going on? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate you. So I think we should get started. So we're going to look at Professor Vaknin first because he's just he's a narc. And so he gets to shine in the beginning. I ain't gonna lie. That's what he gets. I love you, Sam. You sexy bitch. All right. So guys, if you're unfamiliar with Sam Vaknin, he was diagnosed with narcissism, among other things, decades ago. He's a professor of psychology, and he writes about his condition. He enlightens people as to how he feels, how he sees the world. He also talks about many different cluster B disorders, among various things. He's a very educated man, and we're going to cover one or two clips from each person tonight, and we're going to start off with him. Here we go. Let me find a good one. Are you familiar with Sam Vaknin, Coach?
You know, a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. You know, I know obviously, you know, his education. I know that he was diagnosed with narcissism. He's one of the leading experts. I know that. You know, he's extremely knowledgeable. He does tell it in a way that makes sense to me, but you know, it's different for me to watch narcissistic content creators than it is to watch victims who are creating content. And you know, psychologically, I still haven't been able to make that transition into accepting it. You know, it's one of those things. It's like, well, you caused this, and you caused a lot of this trauma, and now you're trying to educate. It's like, but I think that the way that he does it, he's obviously extremely knowledgeable. I've learned a tremendous amount from him, but I just haven't made a full transition into listening to self-aware narcissists.
Yeah, you know, it's right. You know, I had the same issue with, who is it? Now, I'm not trying to disparage anyone if you like any of these creators, guys, but Batwolf. I tried watching Batwolf for a little while, and then he said that he put a video out and said that empaths are full of shit. There's no such thing as an empath. And I'm like, I'm watching this because I've been one my entire life before I even knew what that term was, and I couldn't handle that. One of the leaps that was hard for me to make was mental wellness. Oh, what's his name? I can't think of that guy's name.
Oh, Lee Hammock.
Lee Hammock, yeah. I watch Lee Hammock here and there, but it's hard for me because, like you said, it's hard to watch someone who has the condition speaking on it when I'd rather gravitate toward, you know, people like Lisa, people like Shawn, yourself, you know, those who have been through what we've been through, because there's this detachment of empathy, you know, and one of the things I like about Sam is that he explains that. He just explains his detachment. Yeah. But seeing is that he was the person who coined certain terms that are important that we use today, like narcissistic abuse. You know, I just think that he deserves the notoriety that he
does. 100%. No, I mean, the guy's extremely knowledgeable. He's blazed a trail for all of us to come in here and be able to speak this kind of terminology. And ultimately, it's all of our goal to bring awareness. So there's nothing but respect. And I'm transitioning slowly, you know, as we talked about. And he's definitely somebody who I've watched his videos. I definitely learned tremendous amounts from him. You know, the guy's smarter than can be. So, and I find it funny you bring up Batwolf just real quick. You know, Batwolf and I used to beef a little bit on TikTok. He used to follow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I first started to go viral, he would follow me on TikTok and he would push out my videos. But then I made a video about how the narcissist hates you. And he got really offended by this. And he said, you know, and I did a video. If anybody wants to go check it out, it's on my TikTok. I did a video and then he comes back and says, well, I'm a narcissist and I don't hate anybody. And I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, whatever. And well, that video went viral. Well, a couple months later, he made a video and he says, narcissists hate you. And I was like, oh, I got you. So I stitched it. And I said, now this is a narcissist being double standard. And I put all my little receipts in there. I said, see, Batwolf and I used to be friends. He blocked me over it. So my friendship with Batwolf was very short-lived.
Now, Randy, you can't expose a narc. You're not allowed to do that. They get very offended.
Rule number one.
All right, let's take a look. On that note, let's look at narcissists are infuriated when they face karma. Oh, well, hold on.
There is click.
Let me do it again. There we go.
There is clickbait and there is victim bait. Victim bait are videos like this one, which compel, force victims to click on the video and watch it to their heart's content. Today's topic is narcissists are infuriated when they are forced to face the music, pay the price, endure the karma of their own misconduct. And who am I to talk about this? My name is Sam Vaknin. I'm the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited. I'm a current professor of clinical psychology and business management in CIAPS in Cambridge, United Kingdom. and a former visiting professor of psychology, personality psychology, in Southern Federal University in Rostov-on-Don, in the Russian Federation, in Europe, on this planet, on the Milky Way galaxy. Okay, I hope that I succeeded to locate myself sufficiently accurately. You see them on YouTube. You see them on YouTube. The wounded healers, saviors, the eternal, professional, competitive victims, the ones who can do no wrong and have done no wrong. They just keep bumping into abusers. Not their fault. They're not responsible. They've contributed nothing. They've never ever misbehaved. They're morally upright. They're sanctimonious. They're virtuous. It's just that people keep abusing them. Abusive girlfriends, abusive business partners, abusive spouses, abusive friends. Everyone around them takes advantage of them, humiliates them, attacks them, and they're angelic. They're virginal. It's a vomitary.
I have to say, hold on, Coach, before we keep going, I have to say, this dude's getting negative fuel calling out of the narcs. He is totally getting off. That's, I got to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I like Sam, because he's pretty open about that.
Yeah, he's very open about it.
It's very,
Orgy of self-pity. Many of these are YouTubers, actually. And I'm sure you can identify a few of them in my words. Nothing is more pathetic, nothing is more revolting than a covert narcissist claiming the high moral ground. Nothing is more pathetic, nothing is more revolting than an overt, grandiose narcissist claiming victimhood. Nothing. Narcissists are infuriated when they are finally made to pay for their misbehavior, crimes, abuse, bad choices, and wicked comport or behavior. They hate it. They hate the fact that their actions have consequences, that their choices have adverse outcomes, that punishment is coming, that karma is ineluctable. They hate it.
they absolutely hate that, man. And it's one of the most infuriating things about dealing with a person with narcissistic personality disorder, because they're taking no accountability and doing everything they can to avoid it, and they're always the victim. It's mind-boggling to understand that there are personalities with this dysfunction that are unable to empathize or to place themselves like in another person's shoes, see how that other person is dealing with their abuse or with their actions. And I think that really does lead to, into the trauma bonding itself. And when you care so much for someone like that, and you keep going back into it, or you keep trying to reach out and trying to find empathy where there is none, you will find someone who will lie, that play the victim. And it's difficult to discern, because I think to a degree, those of us who I think, in my opinion, those of us who get involved with these people have past damages. We have attachment issues or anxious attachment issues, something like that, something unresolved, where you want to heal somebody whom you see as hurt. And I believe they use that to their own advantage. But they're coming to the point where you try to hold them accountable to see where you're coming from. That's where you get the narcissistic rage. That's where you get some of the horror stories that I have heard and seen from people who will do absolutely anything to avoid accountability for the damage that they cause in your life and not take any responsibility for it. Like, Coach, how is someone supposed to deal with that?
Well, it's almost impossible to deal with, right? This is why they call it crazy making and why they put you in this delusional, this delusional false reality, right? Where you can't even make up your own judgment or decisions. This is at the core of narcissistic abuse, right? It's deception. It's crazy making. So the way to deal with it really is to understand, number one is you have to be able to just call it for what it is, right? It's illogical, it's chaos, it's a disorder, which, that's what they have, a personality disorder. And the synonym for disorder is chaos. So it's about really understanding and accepting that at the end of the day, we will never really understand how or why they do it. You just need to understand the basic terminology, what the patterns are, and that this exists, and then be able to just detach because you can't. But what I like the most that he says is that it's infuriating how these people portray themselves as the good person, the victim of life, but they're willing to do all this amazing things for all these fucking strangers, but they're abusing the people closest to him. This is one of the biggest reasons why I spoke out. He nailed it. It simply makes me so mad. For example, in my story, I have this brand, Only Quality People. And I'm out here putting this great message out here. She's working with me, and we're going out telling people, about, surround yourself with loyal, authentic people. And she was doing the most insidious shit behind the closed door. And so how do you even fathom that? You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's so infuriating. Sam, he nailed it. He nailed it right on the head. That is probably the biggest reason why I spoke out. You have people acting one way, but doing something completely different in the background.
Yes. Yeah, the duality of it. The Jekyll and Hyde. I've seen a lot of those memes out there on Twitter right now. And it's the truth of it. Narcissists will project themselves as a wonderful person, giving, healthy, compassionate, this and that. Behind closed doors, if they target you or if they want to get supply from you that isn't positive, they're going to sabotage. They're absolutely going to sabotage you. And they will not hold any responsibility for what they have done.
Accountability.
No accountability whatsoever. And there's something that I saw, Randy, I think it was like a week and a half ago, that hit the nail on the head, kind of helped me to grow, was narcissists look for people who take accountability for things they didn't do. That someone who, like, you have an attachment or a dependency. And so I did this. I allowed myself to take the blame for situations I didn't cause and things that I didn't do. And narcissists prey on that. They prey on that type of behavior. They can get unlimited supply from someone who will continually take fault for something that's not their fault.
Yeah, no, I think so. And what I think about that, I think it's dead on, but I like to take the word prey, or like they target people like that. I don't necessarily think that. I think they just target people they want something from. And then they hope that this person is damaged and has no boundaries and things of this nature. Because if you take it down further, there's a reason why you want to, the reason why you're taking accountability for things that you didn't do is to keep the peace. So there's a deeper core issue of worth, walking on eggshells, and all of it, as obviously is all from, childhood wounds of that nature. But when narcissist finds people like us, people who lack boundaries, we want to help. We're high empathetic, very forgiving, extremely loyal. This is their equivalent of hitting the jackpot. Now, they never know when it's going to happen because they can find an empath. And this is where, I did a video, like, people want to say, well, it's the narcissist versus empath. Well, I don't believe that, because there's empaths who have boundaries who would walk away. But it's empaths with deeper core, usually self-worth issues, whether it's self-worth from emotional neglect and emotional abandonment. But that's typically the things that will keep you stuck in a narcissistic abusive relationship.
Yes, well said. And that's it. I mean, it comes down to not knowing your own worth and not having strong boundaries, and also, like, prioritizing your emotions over logic and reason, guys. I can't tell you so much what has helped me over the last year, learning how to control my emotions. Nostalgia means that's this time in life, that is not today. And if whatever has changed since then, pay attention to the red flags, pay attention to a person's actions, not their words. Actions will tell you everything about who someone is. Ravenclaw says Amber Heard, LOL. Yeah, and I thank God for the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. because that was the first time it really was put in the public eye. Men can be abused. Men can go through this type of situation. And it also showed a woman who is narcissistic and set him up, would rile him up and then record it, would create that shit in his bed, Ravenclaw. You ever have a narc shit? I never have narc crap in my bed, Randy. Have you ever heard a story? Has anybody ever crapped in? Okay. That's going the extra mile. Like if we gave awards to narcs, Amber Heard gets that award.
That's the Grammy of them all.
There's one more I want to go over with Sam, and this is one that I found very interesting. This is how a narcissist, perceives other people. So let's look into the mind of a narcissist and see what he says about how he perceives. Oh, that's that wrong.
At the request of the interviewer, I computer modified her voice. You may notice that I have rendered her a bit more masculine in the process. My sweet secret revenge. We also agreed to conduct the interview via audio only. I'm not quite sure why all these precautions, but I respect her wishes. So here goes. She's had a few questions regarding the video I posted yesterday. How do I experience people? You may wish to watch that video. It's short, it's 8 minutes. How do I experience people? And then she had a few questions. I thought the questions were pertinent and interesting, and so I invited her to conduct an interview. Introduction over. Let's delve right in.
Many say that your video yesterday about how you perceive and experience people is overly dramatic.
This is the problem that victims of narcissistic abuse face. When they try to describe or convey or communicate the harrowing experiences they've had with narcissists, people tell them, you're exaggerating, you're over the top, you're being dramatic, you're being hysterical. And similarly, when narcissists try to communicate their internal experience, people often say, snap out of it, you're overthinking, you're not a narcissist, you're just an a-hole, for example. So people deny the reality of narcissism, and even more so, the reality of narcissistic abuse. And I think they do this because they want to believe in the essential goodness of the universe. They want to believe that evil never prevails, that maybe even evil doesn't exist. They want to cast everything in terms that are non-threatening. If narcissism is just an exaggeration of daily traits, and if narcissistic abuse is just dramatizing typical domestic situations, then all is well and there's no need to lose sleep at night. And this is why I reject the claims that my video yesterday has been overly dramatic. If anything, I think it understated the inner experience of the narcissist. So that's all I have to say about this.
In the video confession you posted yesterday, you said, and I quote, I experience people as dim apparitions, inert characters in a boring novel or a tedious, overlong film, lifeless, except when they provide me with narcissistic or sadistic supply, at which point they spring to life, like so many nutcrackers or gingerbread men, and become radiant, kinetic, idealized beings. Stuttering, then freezing frames in obsolete films or in burning celluloid photographs. Could you elaborate on that? Do you see people like that from the first minute you meet them?
That's actually an excellent question. First of all, I believe that the inability to visualize or to conceptualize people in your life is a form of aphantasia. Aphantasia is the inability to visualize, but I believe that there is mental aphantasia. Narcissists, for example, have an empathy deficit, and I call it empathy aphantasia. They cannot visualize other people. They cannot put themselves in other people's shoes. They cannot bring other people to mind. They cannot hang on to the external and separate existence of other people. They internalize everything immediately. The entire external world becomes just a figment of the narcissist's mind or imagination. So I believe it's a form of aphantasia. Now, when I meet someone for the first time, I see them through a glass darkly, as some kind of ectoplasm. Everything is very fuzzy. Everything is very, there are no contours. There's no delineation, demarcation. Even the faces are blurred. It's a fuzzy emanation. People appear to me to be faded, forlorn, not fully there, as if they were melting into the environment, as if they were dissolving. I mentioned yesterday wisps of smoke. I think that's the apt simile. Anyhow, when I first meet them, in my mind, they are mute. They're mute. Even if they talk, even if they're trying to communicate, even if they respond to my questions, they're on mute. And this is why narcissists, by the way, cannot handle conversations. They don't talk to you, they talk at you. They lecture. And when you, as an interlocutor, respond to them or contribute your own piece, they become bored. They become distracted. They lose interest because they're focused only on what they have to say. As far
Woo. Man, and there's a look into how narcissists view you. Very, very well put by Professor Vaknin. It's a long video, so I'm going to stop it there. Coach, any thoughts on? Do you think he's correct?
Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest with you. He goes into such, levels of detail that are hard for me to, again, even understand, right? Talking about seeing fuzzy faces, I want to kind of be like, well, maybe clean off your glasses, but I know that it's deeper in their psyche and that there's really something going on, but I can't fathom that. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I don't think he's lying about his experience by any means. I think it's very, detailed. So there's something really obviously going on there. But I do think that narcissists, no, I don't think they see you as a human. I don't think that they see you as a loving human. I don't think they see your aura or get, any kind of a joy out of your physical, presence around them. I don't think they see you. It's just his is very graphic, you know what I mean? So, but no, I don't think they see you as like a human.
No, it's the way that he put it. The way he said that people are not interesting to him. It's all on mute unless he looks at you and there's something kind of narcissistic supply, something he can get from you, and then you have all his attention. So for a narcissist, that's what we dealt with, guys. We dealt with a person who only viewed you in a certain way in their world, not as a person, but as a part of their world, a contour of their world, that can facilitate this and nothing else. And they do, and they get very annoyed when you try to bring them out of that shell and put them in the world with the rest of us. They become highly agitated, highly annoyed, because that means that they then are subject to shame, which is what they are trying to escape. Wonderfully well put. Thank you, Professor Vaknin. Greatly appreciate you and all of the knowledge. Guys, please go subscribe to him if you're interested in this topic and hearing it from the horse's mouth. It's been a limitless amount of resources for myself. Thank you, Sam. Next, we are going to cover our guest for next week, Shawn K Howerton. Wonderful woman. Had the chance. Thank you very much, Shawn, for liking and putting attention on our show, on all of us. We greatly appreciate that. And we appreciate you. A woman who went through a long-term relationship. I'll allow her, through her own words, to explain to you what happened as she went through that and eventually led to being suicidal, which is an effect that happens to many of us. It happened to myself. When you continually try and strive to remain with a person who will not love, will not take responsibility, will not show empathy, accuses you of everything, and you love them truly and deeply. I think that's one of the commonalities between all of us who are in a narcissistic relationship with someone, or a relationship with a narcissist. We love them through and through, and we cannot see what they're doing, how bad they are. We end up gaslighting ourselves, bullshitting ourselves, lying to ourselves about who they are and what they're doing, because we want to see the best in someone else. And Shawn went through that for a very long time, and eventually came out of it and is one of our narc abuse heroes, recovery heroes out here. Any thoughts on Shawn K Howerton before we begin, sir?
I think Shawn, I think she's amazing. I think she's spot on. You know, her story really does inspire me. I love the way she educates. She's very knowledgeable. And I look forward to being on a panel with her, you know, soon. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. We were going back and forth on Instagram, messaging one another, and it was just it's one thing to watch someone's content and and get what you get from it, whether it's support for yourself, someone who understands what you've been through, and it's another thing to talk. Like when I started talking to you, Randy, it was just, I don't want to say it, I guess it humanizes it, or it makes it more of a personal relationship. And that, like talking with people like you and Scott, it made me feel better about myself. It made me feel stronger, actually. And that's kind of what I got from Shawn. Very motherly energy, very matriarchal, powerful, feminine energy. And it's a wonderful experience to be able to share words with her. Guys, please check out her Instagram. Links for everything is in the description below. What's that?
I said, she's got me on there.
Yeah, look at you. Look at that. Look at that pretty face. Look at that handsome man right there. Let's start off with a positive one.
So if you've been following me for a while, you kind of know my story on the comeback. I know that it is not easy to come back after a narcissistic discard, especially if the abuse was severe. Mine was incredibly severe. And I don't say this to toot my own horn, because I give the credit to a much higher power. But I am starting a course called Comeback, and I would love for you to join. I have a lot to share with you and teach you, and I know I can make a difference. It's a calling, and I would be incredibly honored to be a part of that journey with you.
When it comes to people who have been through what we have, my first instinct was after defending my name. I built this channel to defend my name from the smear campaigns, honestly. And then it became educational. And then as I gathered people through the chat that had gone through narcissistic abuse, it kind of felt like it's a calling for me to educate others, to be here and support others who have been through it, because I myself have been at a point where I was so weak, I didn't know if I was going to make it. I didn't know if I was going to be able to continue on. And I had to isolate and do that on my own. With the exception of people like Randy, people like Shawn and Lisa, and people who do the content, talk about this, that gave me strength. And it kind of became like, this is part of my life mission now. This is part of my mission now. After going through what I have and understanding the manipulation, how you can be targeted, triangulated, devalued, smeared, your entire world distorted, broken down. You literally have to rebuild who you are from the ground up after being destroyed like that. And so it became part of my life's mission. I mean, to talk about this. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going until I'm done. That's what I see people like Shawn doing the same thing. And I realize the strength that we possess, to have gone through what we have in all of our various experiences. We all went through the same narcissistic cycle, but our own experiences are different. But to continue on and to educate others and be strength for others after the life destruction we went through is amazing. So it also reinforces me wanting to do what I do. Shawn, Randy, how do you feel about what you do? Like, why do you do what you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I tell people all the time, even back when I first started doing lives on TikTok, I felt like, getting out of the narcissistic abusive relationship, when my eyes were finally opened, it was the death of the old me. That version of me died, and I had to start brand new to rebuild myself with a whole new, now, set of eyes, if you will, because those rose-colored glasses, they were off, and now it was just, here's what life really is. So my story is a little bit different. Basically, you know, I always knew that I wanted to be a coach that would help people realize and materialize their full potential and transform their lives after, you know, emotional abuse. Now, I didn't know the word narcissist, but in 2019, when I got out of a toxic abusive relationship, I had seen this pattern, right? So narcissists, there's toxic abusive relationships that will have the same kind of pattern as a narcissistic abusive relationship, but maybe they're not manipulative, they're not, you know, deceptive, there's no cheating involved, but they do have this kind of love bombing, you know, devaluation, and then a discard, then a Hoover. Like that's a toxic relationship as well. And when I got out of that relationship, I saw this pattern. I was like, wait a minute, like, nah, you know, like I finally got what this pattern was. And so I started manifesting me becoming a life coach. I saw, you know, coaches coming online and using social media to get their message out there. And I was like, I can do that. I can do that. So I started down this journey, and then I met the narcissist. And then I went through the worst experience of my life, but then my eyes were open. So it was just like 2 weeks getting out of the 9th and final discard that I started talking and spreading my story and bringing awareness. But it was all just, I already knew that I had to do it. So really for me, it was more like my silver lining was like, oh my God, this is my purpose. This happened to me so that I would finally see. So my eyes would finally be, you know, open so that I could go out and help other people recover from this. So that's kind of my story. But what I find from a lot of people is, yeah, when you go through this kind of experience, you find purpose, right? You start to find your bigger purpose. And we're really here for 3 main things on earth. And that's to experience, to create, and to love, right? To love people, to help people, to experience, to pay it forward. And this is part of my recovery, was to help other people. So yeah, I think Shawn is dead on, and I can't wait for her course to come out. I think anybody who can take and convert this, you know, horrible experience into fuel in order to go out and help other people and change the narrative and bring awareness, I think that's amazing, man. I fully support that stuff.
Absolutely. Shawn was also talking about, she saw Scott and I were talking about the spiritual warfare. We've talked about this too. It's spiritual warfare. Yeah. You know, and doing that, taking a loss into a win, like she is doing, like we're all doing, is fighting, for lack of a better term, the devil. It is fighting evil. It is taking something that was tested us and took us to a point of destruction or self-destruction, and then becoming warriors of light, becoming, you know, soldiers for good, putting out the word, being there to support other people, and also with compassion and understanding. Because, like you said, you said the 9th time. For me, I think it was like 13 for me. It was a long amount of discards, and it took for me to finally see the person for who they were and say no more. We have to be understanding.
A lot of that too is because we would never fathom it. This was on the other video that we were talking about. It's like, we love these people. Like, we went in authentically, transparently. We were vulnerable. We really wanted to put our best foot forward. I know the majority of people that I talked to, they were like, I wasn't even looking, but I wanted this to be the right one. So I did everything possible, and they doubled down every single time the discard, they would double down and try harder. And so it becomes eye-opening, right? Like, but you never, and this is why I tell people cognitive dissonance is the #1 problem with recovering from narcissistic abuse, okay? That is the #1 problem. People talk about the trauma bond. Okay, the trauma bond, great. But cognitive dissonance is part of the trauma bond. And this is this, are they an abuser? Are they the love of my life? Are they the abuser? Am I the abuser? This is this duality that lives within our head of the talking voices. So this becomes the hardest part to get over.
It does, and the part of the nature of the abuse cycle is making you crazy and then making you emotionally reactive. And the narcissist or narcissistic person point the finger at you and say, "See, I told you, you're the abuser," making you question yourself. It's insidious. It is evil. It is a spirit.
It's very evil, because every religion talks about the enemy, Satan, right? Satan came to lie, cheat, steal, and destroy. But what does a narcissist do, right? This is the collectiveness of, you know, like Scott was saying last week, it's this consciousness of evil spirit, right? This is why we always look at it like, oh my God, it's like they have a playbook. do they go to the same school? Where's the narcissist playbook? Well, it's because they're operating on the same level of evil consciousness, which is deception. It's deception.
It is. It's all based on that. What did Scott call it? Satanic personality disorder. I think it's it's pretty apt. It's a pretty apt description.
You should make a shirt.
He should, absolutely. But when it comes to the spiritual warfare aspect of it, to take something, to have literally faced the devil, something that evil, or a creature that is blessed by that, and then come around and want to heal and want to help others and be there for them. That is taking a loss into an epic win. And I congratulate everyone who does that. Thank you, Shawn. All right, let's look at, does the narcissist ever change?
Are you playing it?
Oh my God, I totally went the whole time. Thank you for saying something.
Yeah, I was like, it looks like you're having fun over there.
Oh my God, that's horrible. I gotta edit that out. Okay, hold on. Here we
You're
go.
like, she's
Thank
right.
you. Yeah. I was having, that was a whole segment for myself. Okay, hold on, brother.
So I'm asked, does the narcissist ever change? Well, guys, let's think about that a minute. How hard is change? It's not easy, right? Like, there's a lot of you trying to break a trauma bond and trying to recover after divorces or, these relationships. It's hard to make change, right? The narcissist is not about anything hard. They want to, get through life as easy as possible, no self-reflection. If they can, con the system, they're going to con the system. It's all about them lying, whatever. They are absolutely not going to take the time to invest in change. First of all, they don't even think there's anything wrong with them, so why would they bother doing that? It's everybody else, right? They're perfect, and the rest of us have all the issues. Now, they know deep down that's not the case. They know deep down that they're pushing it all off, but the thing is, they don't care because they don't have a conscience. So they're never going to change. Not ever. As a matter of fact, they get worse as they get older. The reason being is that they just get better at hiding, and they've got so much garbage, and they perfect their trade and what have you. So you just keep changing and getting better.
Coach, you talk to a lot of people, you coach people. So why don't you speak on the difficulties of change?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I think first and foremost, Shawn she's spot on. At the end of the day, look, even Dr. Ramani, who's the leading expert in narcissism at this time, her and Sam obviously are way up there. But, Dr. Ramani talks about, the narcissist being like a rubber band, right? So you can pull this rubber band and this would be representative of the narcissist in therapy, right? You can stretch them. They can learn to manage their behavior only for so long. So they're in therapy, they're being stretched, but then a big life event happens. They lose a kid, they lose their job, whatever the case is, then that rubber band just, just smacks back. But she really hit it on the head when she said, there's one key thing that I tell everybody when it comes to narcissistic abuse. Do they ever change? There's one thing they cannot change. They don't have a conscience. They don't have any empathy. And at the end of the day, if they don't have empathy, they cannot just develop empathy in the later years, because it's all part of the frontal cortex and these neurological mirrors that mirror the empathy. And this is how we develop it. Mm-hmm. They can't just develop empathy. They're never going to feel any type of feelings or care how you feel or how their actions affect you. And not only that, but they don't care about lying. They don't care about lying. You can't ever trust them. So to me, it's no, a narcissist will never, ever change. You cannot trust them, period. But, for the victim of narcissistic abuse, I would say anybody who is able to self-reflect, anybody who's able to step up and say, hey, look, I got issues in this as well. I stayed too long. I allowed this to happen. I exploded, 3-4 times in this reactive abuse cycle. And by the way, reactive abuse is the narcissist, not the victim. However, we should never be in a situation to allow ourselves to be pushed that far to where you're exploding. I mean, this is absolute abuse at its finest. So I would say the number one thing a person has to have in order to be able to make a true change is self-awareness. They have to be aware that there is a problem. They have to be able to then reflect enough on their narrative and what's happened in their life to pinpoint the root of that problem. And this is something narcissists will not do ever.
Yes, sir. Beth, would you do me a favor? Go into the description, copy the link for Shawn's Instagram, and put it in the chat for me. And if you would do that for all the people we cover, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Beth.
And Shawn for president, by the way. Shawn for president. She nails it every time, because she took it further. Just my last little thing on that, because it just came to mind. She took it further by even, indicating how it plays out later on. Right. So the narcissist, when they go from victim to victim to victim, all they're doing is stacking knowledge on how to get away with things. So they do tend to get better. Now, there does come a switchover point where age and other limitations start to affect their ability to secure good supply. And now when this happens, this is when the narcissist will become jaded. You're going to see more covert narcissists turn to malignant, because now the mask, they can't hold the mask up. There's no reason to hold the mask up. They become jaded. They hate the world. And if there's a child involved, then they're typically using that child to be the extension of themselves. And that child goes on to become narcissistic as well. So there's kind of these crossovers that happen within the aging of a narcissist.
Yes, and as you stab more and more and more people, and you can't hide from the stories behind you. You can't, it doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter your social status. You cannot hide the fact that you have a litany of broken, destroyed lives behind you, and that's going to catch up. And people are less apt to trust you. Some narcissists who depend on their looks, those looks fade. It may take a little longer for a dude, but that evil is going to seep through. You cannot live where you're constantly generating negative karma, triangulating, being evil, lying, destroying others, being an energy vampire. You can't exist in that frame and it not show through. Eventually, people will see you for who you are. And when it comes to that aging narcissist, they get to a point where, unless they've got the money to hire somebody to put up with their shit, nobody's going to want to.
Absolutely. That was a great video, by the way, Shawn. A great video.
Yeah. And Ravenclaw's out here going, Howard in 2024. You started something, Randy. So if you see Shawn running for president in 4 years, this is where it started. I just want to go through a couple of statements in the chat. Adventure with Beth said, alcohol will bring out emotion, but not the kind you want. Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to an addictive personality, narcissism, the narcissists that I have known are addictive personalities. The ones that I've known personally use drug use and alcohol, to exasperate their grandization. And it makes them a lot quicker to come out and show who they are. I dealt with a narcissistic sociopath. So some of the things that I dealt with are a little different than like the narc abuse cycles we hear about. I did see the rage. The narcissistic rage did happen, but there was a point with the sociopath where her eyes would glow, like they would sparkle. because she had complete and total control over the situation. Had me fooled, had me capitulated, was lying straight to my face, knew I was lying, I knew she was lying, and was gleeful at the ability to manipulate all these people around her. So I'm not saying it's less or more sadistic, guys. I'm just saying, like, that's the look that I got more than the rage aspect, and drugs did have a part of it.
I think Professor Sam was the one who said that narcissists get dopamine off of deceiving people. So every time they lie, they actually get dopamine off of that. And this is why you would see that they would be excited, right? They would get that pleasure feeling from deception.
And loving it. Yeah, absolutely. They do get that because it's a sense of control. So, to my understanding, they have no control over their impulses. They have no control over themselves because they're putting all their power and energy into supporting the narcissistic shell and not doing the healing work, escaping that, and just getting external validation. So, what they create, narcissists will tell you what hurt. First off, a narcissist will tell you what hurts them because that's how they hurt you, and they will show you exactly. They will show you their weaknesses in the same way. The narcissist will tell you exactly who they are through their actions, but it's all inverted. It's all of it's inverted. It's a 180. So it's a shame. Like, once you become educated and understand these personality types, you can see it so clearly. You can see someone reversing themselves upon you, gaslighting you, projecting upon you, what their actual issues are. It's like, I don't know. I needed to see it, but it's been difficult for me. I operate in a very highly interactive networking sphere of YouTubers and other social media personalities. And so walking into a room, so to speak, with these people 3 or 4 or 5 years ago and today are two completely different things. Back then, I wanted to see the best in people. I thought what they were telling me was what they meant. I trusted. I had weak boundaries and I trusted too much. And now I walk in and I will notice that third line in the interaction that we have that tells me, oh, you're insecure. You might hurt me because you're insecure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I
think you gain a level of emotional intelligence. So you're not only understanding your emotions, better and able to process them differently in more healthy coping ways, but you're able to now understand other people's emotions at a different level as well. So it comes with that like emotional intelligence.
Yes, thank you. That's the term I was searching for, but I couldn't find it. Appreciate you, Randy. Glad you're here. Next, we are going to look at one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites. Weavtoldme. I am partial. I am partial to the no nonsense middle finger up F you narc content because that's kind of where I roll what I do. And Weave has always been there. When I first saw this dude, Coach, it sparked a fire. It made me. It kind of like. It sparked the direction in which I began doing this, day to day or consistently, which was F that piece of trash. Are you serious? You dealt with that? I dealt with it? Nah, screw them. And that's that, more defiant, self-reliant, invoking in us what we abandoned in ourselves when we allowed that abuse to continue on, which is I'm worth more. I'm worth more than this.
Yeah, he's pulling out that warrior mentality that, you're worth more, stand up for yourself. So he's really invoking that emotion, right? I love the way that he story tells so well. Like, I pride myself on being a very, very good speaker. I'm a speech and debate geek. I've spoken at many events and speech and debate tournaments, and now I do this. But he tells stories in the way he speaks through his stories and educates is by far one of my favorite.
Yeah, and he swears now and again. I'm glad he's gotten more into being comfortable swearing because that I can't help it. I love it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, and this is what makes people like, myself, you and Marcus, kind of a little bit different is that we are able to be a little bit more assertive in the way that we're educating it, right? We're able to voice it a little bit differently, but validate people that it's okay to be angry, like this shit happened, but not let the anger turn into resentment, which then only poisons you. It's using the anger and turning burning it and using it as fuel to recover.
Yes, sir. Well said. Well said. Let's take a look at this one.
Sure as hell feels like it, don't it? Like they stole something from you. Not necessarily a level of innocence, but maybe a perception that you had. You know, the perception that people can change, that if given enough love and support, people can be better. Or how about the perception that you had or how love was supposed to work? See, we unfortunately have to learn these hard-ass lessons that sometimes, just sometimes, we run into motherfuckers that are unmovable assholes. Sometimes we meet evil-ass human beings. Sometimes no amount of love, care, empathy, apologies, understanding, effort, or even a fucking exorcism can save the narcissist from themselves. And just like you thought you had it all figured out, just like you thought you could handle the pain, it doesn't mean that you have to. And it ain't till we start seeing our value differently, until we start seeing narcissists differently, and when we start seeing a different perspective, that we can start accepting that nothing, and I mean this quite literally, nothing you do will ever be good enough for someone who doesn't even value themselves. Sure as hell.
Stand up, love yourself, know your worth. Do not take that shit. That hoovering hobgoblin, he gets me fired up. That hoovering hobgoblin didn't give a damn about you. The only thing they cared about was destroying life after life. It's what they've been doing this whole time. They saw you. They saw a beautiful light. They saw a person who cared about themselves, who cared about others. They saw someone who would forgive them, who does reach out and try to help others because they went through their own trials and tribulations, and they decided to use that against you. They decided to hurt you. They decided to take that beautiful bright light and try and squash it because they wanted to pass on pain, because they're cowards, because they can't deal with their own shit, because their fifis are unresolved, because they dealt with stuff in their childhood, and instead of going to therapy, instead of talking to people, instead of dealing with it, instead of accepting life and moving the freak on, they decided to hurt others and destroy your life. That is what you have dealt with, and they are not worth your respect.
Amen. Well said. Amen.
Love
Amen.
Marcus.
Yeah, no, Marcus, again, I mean, he's just the way he tells it, the way he's able to hit every, you know, he really draws on a lot of emotion. When he talks, he's taking you through this story and he's hitting on every single emotion you would feel in this scenario, which is so spot on. I mean, it's nothing but an A+. He said every time.
He said nothing less than a damn exorcism. I love them. Yeah. Like the phraseology he uses, I love it. And he's dead on. And that's a man who's been hurt and came up. You know, like that's a guy who went through it, was hurt, was used, was, you know, turned around and became a firebrand.
Yeah.
This is what we do. This is what it is. This is what Randy does. It's what Shawn does. It's what Lisa does. It's what we all do. We went through a horrible period in life, and the best qualities about us, which were a little too not shored up, they weren't protected enough. We gave that love to everybody. We wanted to see everyone rise together. We weren't picky in that because how much we loved others. And we were used for that. We were destroyed because of that. We kept fighting over and over again for a person who did not value us, didn't value our time, didn't value our energy, didn't care about who we were. And we sacrificed ourselves, destroyed our lives, trying to care for someone who was uncareable. And those of us that went through it, we turned around and became something better, forged through the fires, and came out in life ready to help others, ready to educate, standing up for ourselves, being here for one another. That is that's the spiritual warfare right there. That's what Shawn's doing. That's what Weave's doing. That's what Coach is doing. That's what we're all out here doing. And every one of you guys in the chat that have been through this, if you have a voice and you want to tell your story. Make a channel. Go on TikTok. Speak your truth. Talk about your experiences, because each and every person in this chat that is supporting one another is the reason why the person next to you feels as powerful as they do. The person next to you has the ability to look at what they went through, maybe approach themselves, look at their own problems, and become out a stronger person, a better version of themselves. Hail to every single person in this chat. My love to y'all. This is what we do. Woo.
Well said. Well said. And we love doing it too. I mean, it's all about helping the next person. It's paying it forward. It's providing a service to humanity to help them wake up so they don't have to go through this, because it's horrific.
It is, absolutely. Hail to Stark of Iron, member of the Rogue team over in Author Stephen Walton. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for being here. Andrea says, We have good hearts with love, narcissists are bullies and haters. Yes, they are. And the only thing they're not going to change, just like we've said, they're not going to change. You can't expect that. If they go to psychotherapy and they decide to change, good for them. Good for them and anybody in their lives that they're attached to. If they are actually making an honest change. But they will never see things the way that we do. They don't have that ability. So you must understand that. It is exactly what it is. Let's see. And I was talking, I gotta bring this up because I was talking about, thank you, Mike. MC Mike does out in the chat. I joke about bring back dueling. And, the only way to deal with these hoovering hobgoblins, narcissistic abuse victims standing shoulder to shoulder, locked and loaded with love. So I think a friend of mine, Red Gaze, shared out a video that we covered actually on my yesterday on the Rogue Entertainment Show on Author Stephen Walton about the emergent Cluster B society. And we were having a discussion because he is also a survivor of narcissistic abuse. I didn't even know that. He tried to warn me 4 years ago when it all started.
Oh, wow.
And he did. And I had no idea. And he tried to be there for me for as long as he could. And then he had to, go his own way like our friends do.
Yeah.
But we were discussing that. And he said, bring back shame. Bring back shame.
Yeah.
That is absolutely it. Narcissists are trying to escape shame. If we hold them accountable for what they do, what do they freak out? Let them freak out. The way that we handle the emergent Cluster B society, the emergence of narcissism, histrionics, borderlines, all of these types of personality disorders is to hold people responsible for what they do. And hopefully, if we get them in an early enough stage of development to recognize what they are doing, maybe they will get the help required to not become a full-blown narcissist or not become a full-blown toxic personality type.
Yeah.
That's I just want to preach for a second. All right, let me bring this back up so I don't forget. And let's check out this.
When the conversation always reverted back to them, when they were never forthcoming about their past, when they never showed you any vulnerability or comfort with deep, intimate conversations, when they put your needs, your opinions, your cares, wants, views all on the back burner, when they got angry with you about that innocent joke that you told, when you recognized the relationships with friends and family were strained, when they called you too sensitive every time they criticized you, criticized having boundaries, always made you change your plans to accommodate theirs, yet never did the same exact thing for you. Small signs, I know, but looking back now, a lot more noticeable, ain't it? Oh, but the biggest, how your behavior shifted, how you shrunk down in their presence to make them feel comfortable. And should you be dimming your light around someone who's supposed to love you? When the conversation
Oh man, Coach, you talk to people every day about this topic. Would you like to?
Yeah, he's exactly spot on. I mean, it's crazy to me to hear this video even right now and just have aha moments of, it's so spot on. In the very beginning, we have these rose-colored glasses and we totally just ignore the red flags. I can't tell you, all of the evidence was there of what was about to happen to me from the very beginning, but I just stuffed it away. And what's crazy is I had done the work. I was just coming out of a toxic relationship. I took 1 year. I healed from it. I was into coaching. I was into therapy, and I was doing all these things and leveling up, and yet I still fell victim to the game. And so I had no choice this time but to look at myself and say, okay, what do I got to do here? Because I never want to go through this again. But again, Marcus, he kills it. And this is what it is. We knew in the beginning, and this is something that I use in the coaching to help people pivot, right, from that victim mentality to that warrior, to that survivor, to that thriver mentality, which is in the beginning, didn't you see anything that would have been a red flag? And they're always like, oh yeah, and so then, well, why did you stay? And this takes us down that path, and this is where we ultimately get our power back.
Yes, absolutely. It's recognizing. I know it's difficult. It was difficult for me and people that I've spoken to recognize how low you let yourself get, what you endured, what you accepted. We got to a point where I look at it like this: the narcissist wants to spread their pain. They want you to become like them. And as you accept more of the lies and the gaslighting and accept blame for things that aren't your fault, you do kind of become like them because you want to believe their story. You want to believe who they are. So, we bullshit ourselves. We end up becoming liars to ourselves. And to get to a point where you know, like if you're a person who prides themselves on honesty, like I had been, to come to a point and realize I lied to myself. I accepted these lies. I also perpetuated lies the narcissist was saying because I wanted to believe the best in them, contrary to what they were saying or what they were doing.
And you probably got your friends and family, you know, saving face for the narcissist.
Right. You know, protecting your abuser. I used to have such a dim look of people who came to self-harm, you know, or thinking about self-harm. I used to have a dim look at people who went back to like physically or abusive relationship situations. And then here I find myself going through those things and understanding the track, the mentality, the emotional damage and manipulation to get someone to that point or to be brought to that point. And I have an entirely different perspective. And I also have a respect for people who survive those things and continue on.
Yeah.
It takes a lot.
You know, it takes everything. And a lot of this, you know, and you can take this back to intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement being really the bonding force in the trauma bond. The trauma bond is two parts, right? It's the chemical addiction of the highs and the lows, dopamine, cortisol, and it's the cognitive dissonance. It's the two different beliefs of what's happening that are living inside of your mind. But when they did the test on rats and they did the intermittent reinforcement, and they did this rat test, at the end of this test, those rats had actually given up themselves as well. They had sacrificed their hygiene, their well-being, and all of these things to continue to hit the lever, even though they weren't getting any treats. So it comes down to the reason why we end up doing this is it's psychological, but a lot of it has to do with that intermittent reinforcement. We get sucked dry waiting for the narcissist validation, right? It comes in the form of validation. Validate that this is happening to me. Tell me you love me. Tell me I'm not a bad person, or is it going to be okay today? So we're walking on eggshells, navigating all of these lies and this trauma, just waiting for breadcrumbs. And this is where it gets crazy for me. I literally gave up everything about myself for fucking breadcrumbs.
Me too, brother.
Insanity.
And coming back from that, you know, like finding your self-worth again is so difficult when you realize it. That you gave up your life and identity, who you were, any momentum, you know, anything you were working on, projects, you gave that up to be abused. Literally asking for abuse. Please abuse me some more.
Yeah. And a lot of times, you know, you go through that cycle. Like you said, you went through it 13, I went through it 9. Every single time I tried harder to make it better, to make sure that, you know, that they could see, look, you told me if I do this, because I didn't understand that they were working against me. Narcissists are always working against you, moving the goalpost, dangling the carrot. They're working against you. You can't, this is the confusion. This is why your brain just melts.
Yeah, there's no way to succeed. Andrea Davis says, we got to validate ourselves now because no one will. That is it, Andrea. Absolutely it. And also at the same time, and I know this is difficult, it was difficult for me, so I imagine it would have been for some of you, to give up on good people. Don't give up on good people. They exist. If they didn't exist, you wouldn't have been hurt. There are people out there who have been through the same situations or similar situations that we have that are guarded, that have been damaged, that are working on their own healing journeys. I think that we should come out of this trying not to be like a narcissist, right? So you come out of this not, you know, don't retain your empathy and compassion, recognize things for what they are, definitely be more controlled emotionally and have better boundaries. But when you see someone who's hurt, when you see someone who might need a little bit of an uplifting energy, don't be afraid to give that out. Don't give up on good people because they do exist. And I think it's so important in the spiritual aspect of this warfare, the spiritual warfare here, that we continue to be good to one another because we're all children of, however you look at it, God. All of us.
And that was the whole purpose of my clothing brand, Only Quality People, right? There are quality people out there, people who inspire you, people who motivate you, people who challenge you to be the best you. And that's who you need to align yourself with, right? So we talk about the Bible. Everybody loves this quote, right? By the way, this quote, what is it? Blood is thicker than water, blah, blah, blah. But that they misinterpret the quote. The quote from the Bible is that the blood of the covenant, The agreement, the covenant that I make with people is more important than the water of the womb. What's the water of the womb? That's where we come from. The womb full of water, the water breaks, we come out. So the people you choose to surround yourself with is more important than where you come from. So choose wisely. There are good people out there.
Yes, well said. Couldn't have said it better. We are going to move on now to covering someone, Jesse. We talked about him last week. We're going to look at his content right now. Jesse was the first narc abuse coach to ever come through and support me. He came through Dragonstorm very early on when I only had a couple hundred subs. He always celebrated my achievements. He always has, and I greatly appreciate him. He's a survivor and thriver with Coach website. I suggest you speak to him if you need some coaching. I love Jesse, and I can't say nothing but good things about him. He's been here since the beginning, Randy. He's a great guy. Are you familiar with?
This is a first for me, so I'm excited.
All right, awesome. Okay, we're going to go through a couple shorts. What I really love about him is that he's a happy soul. He's a lighthearted, happy soul. He tells you the truth. He may get cross about what he's talking about, but it's only momentary. In most of his videos, you will see him just being loving, exuding light. Let's see. Here we go. Let's start with the top.
Never lose the love that's in your heart. I know. It's hard a little at first, but once you get the hang of it, sharing with the right people, your own kind, is a whole lot more delicious. And for the first time ever, you'll have left motivated, uplifted, educated, and can't wait for your next connection. Look, you're not like the narcissist. You're only asking for what it is you're living in. The same boxes you check off are the standards you expect.
Who you surround yourself with is something the coach was just talking about. We were just talking about this very energy. It's you are who you surround yourself with. Do not give up on yourself. There are people worth your attention, worth your heart, your love, your joy, and you protect yourself. You protect yourself by making sure you don't let the same types of people, the same narcissistic or hurtful people into your life. Recognize the red flags, know your boundaries, but do not, y'all, no matter what path healing journey you're on, do not lose your heart, that good heart. You wasted it on the wrong person, but it is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful gift to others and to yourself.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Don't lose your heart. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing to have empathy, right? If we look at how miserable these narcissists are, it would be a sad, fucking lifeless, soulless, horrible existence. But we have empathy. We have the ability to connect vulnerably, authentically, and have those intimate, intimacy is really more about communication. We can have these authentic, intimate connections with people. And this is a beautiful thing. But the most important thing is that now you know the difference in the way people are. You know that there's bad people and there's good people. So use the gift of discernment, right? When you see something's off, trust it the first time and walk away.
Absolutely. For myself, I didn't even know what narcissism was, didn't know what narcissist personality disorder was. And then once I went through and educated myself, the education phase, the healing phase, and then I look back at my life, I go, oh, I chased these types. I went after selfish women or narcissistic type women. And I didn't learn. And because I didn't learn early on, I didn't learn the lessons I had to, I kept chasing the red flags. I kept going after the wrong type of people, kept reinforcing my own damage that was unresolved. When you get to this point, guys, that you're in this chat, that you're looking at Coach Randy's content, you're looking at Shawn's or Lisa's or anyone else's, when you're educating yourself, It's time to heal you. And once you heal you, you will realize the types of toxicity you let into your life, how you are letting yourself down, and your ability to discern who is good in your life and who is not. It's all a come up, guys. It's all a come up. Learning about yourself and bettering who you are. But don't, I say, I'll stress this again and again, because I've gone down this mental path or this emotional path myself, where I thought that I'm never going to find love. There's no point in being friends with people. There's no point in trying to be a good person. There absolutely is. Narcissists, toxic people want you to believe there is no point in love or being good. They want you to think that lying is the way to be. And this is not a good, healthy way to live. Take this as a come up. Learn about yourself. Doesn't matter what age you are, when you figured it out. Look at Narcamera. We had him on a few weeks ago. He went through 30 some odd years of a narcissistic relationship, and now he's healing himself. He's gotten away from it, and he's bettering who he is. It's never too late. Don't give up on your heart, guys.
I'm 47 years old, and I just figured this out at 46. I'm a year into this narcissistic abuse recovery, and I couldn't be more happy. Why? Because I still got 40 years as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make it that year, that much, but I live according to the I did. Now I know. Now I can choose better people. I know how it affects me. I know what to look for, and I know how to walk away. I know what boundaries are, and I know how to love somebody from a distance. You don't have to hate these people. I mean, if they abuse you and you want to hate them. But don't hate them to a point where it poisons you with resentment and anger. At some point, you got to let that go, but you cannot like the person. That's fine. But if there's people around you that you love that you have to cut off, you can love people from a distance. You can wish them well and still move about your life in peace, period.
Well said. Look, hating someone else is drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, and it's filling your heart up. All right, you don't need to. You can know who someone is and create that boundary and say no more and not feed any more power to that beast. Turn your back on Freddy Krueger. He disappears. Let's go to another one. Let me bring up the screen share first off. I don't want to do what I did earlier. Okay. And here we go.
They had no idea this was the straw that broke the camel's back. They were expecting you to chase. Now, this is what's going to really piss them off into a rage. Many of you, chances are you won't see it because they got to have a chance to still come back. So usually behind closed doors, they're going to rage because they can't handle seeing you happy without them. Now, can you imagine if you find someone else? Now, get this. When you move on, they're going to try and pull you back in. But they need to find a creative way to make it where it was your idea so they don't lose that sense of leverage in the relationship dynamic. In this paradigm now, you need to also understand they've been smearing you and never stopped it. They had no idea this was the...
Oops. Oh, my God. Yeah, they never stopped. You're right. They never stopped smearing you. I wish we had another minute on that. You have to understand that. That narcissist never stopped talking trash on you. You've always been the problem the entire time. You're the issue. You were the one who started everything. You were the one who let them down. And if they understand what narcissists are, you're the narcissist. And they're going to do that. But when it comes to trying to hoover you back in, most especially if you found somebody else, I found somebody else, and you all saw what happened in my chat last week, who came into my chat, who started gaslighting, who started lying and stirring up trouble and had to get blocked out of my chat because they can't stand you moving on. You are their object. You are their it. You are their thing. You belong to them. And so if you show any grain of independence or happiness, if you're moving on into a healthy something, they're going to get upset and jealous. And so what they're going to do is they're going to create problems. This is the narcissistic cycle. As far as I experienced it, they're going to start hoovering, going to start talking trash, going to start a smear campaign, going to create some kind of instance where you have to react. The engagement begins, and they're expecting you once again to try and talk sense and try to approach with logic or caring, depending on how long you've been through it, just to get the engagement going again. And once you do that, that's when you get the breadcrumb. That's when you get the fake "I'm sorry." That's where you get the do you want to have sex? That's where you get anything that narcissist can use to pull you back into that dynamic so that they can keep you locked in trauma. Gone through that too many times. And I am proud to say that the July Hoover failed. I deflected that narc 4 times in the last 30 days. No, nothing, can't do it. I'm done with you. It's not happening again. You're not pulling me back in. And that is the attitude that you have to have. But also understand, guys, that crap never gets stopped. You're always the problem. Crap's never going to get stopped being talked. They're going to hoover and get upset and jealous. It's really stalkish and evil. It's I don't know how else to explain it. It's pathetically evil, for someone to get off and try and chase you or try and stalk you to the point where you are not allowed to have any life. You're not allowed to have any love. You're not allowed to feel good about yourself. And it all stems from a person who hates themselves with unresolved issues. They'll do anything to pull you back in. Coach, anything to add?
Yeah, at the end of the day, they know how amazing you are. They know how incredible you are. Narcissists don't date just, schmucks, right? If you're one of their primary suppliers and you've been with them for a while, they know what you're capable of. So, of course, they're like toddlers, right? They look at you like you're a toy. And when they're tired of playing with their toy, they put it on the shelf. And then when another kid comes and grabs that toy, it pisses them off. They go in a rage. Hey, that's my toy. And this is how they view you. Once you're a victim of this type of abuse, they believe they own you. And so if they see you going to be happy again, this challenges the narrative that you can't live without them, which ties into the beginning of the video, which is they expect you to chase them, right? Yes. And most victims do. If you're lucky enough and you're strong enough, not lucky enough, but you're strong enough to get out and just leave and you cut them off, this causes narcissistic collapse. It causes narcissistic rage. They don't understand, how are you not chasing me? Because this is the narrative that they want everybody to see, that you're crazy. Mm-hmm. You're chasing me. You can't live without me. Look how crazy they are. And if you're not chasing them, then this crushes their whole narrative. Yeah.
Right. So, yes, Coach. Oh, I got to go right into that because that is publicly in my situation. That's what it was. He's the narcissist. He keeps chasing me. He keeps trying to get, he's promising me. He hurts me. Meanwhile, on another channel, it's nothing but I'm the issue. I'm the narcissist. I'm the problem while being a narcissist. And it's also in private DM groups and other live streams. He's chasing me. He's coming after me and I'm not doing a damn thing. But who shows up on my feed? Who shows up in my chats? Who shows up talking about me? No. It's they need the story to be you are the chaser. You are the problem.
And this is why they create the reverse, the reverse Hoover, right? This right. is exactly why they do it.
Right. The reverse Hoover is completely dependent upon you giving in. We have all the power, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. We have the power. Your personal power is everything. The narcissist was trying to take your power from you, and for a time they did, and they got high off that supply. You can remove that. You can take that away by controlling yourself and saying, no more. I love myself. I am a friend to myself. I am not giving my power over to someone who only wants to destroy me. That's it.
And you got to realize what power is, right? Attention is your power. It's your attention. Mm-hmm. Attention is everything. This is what they're after. Give no attention and you take the power back.
Yes, sir. Well said. Thank you guys so much for being here. I greatly appreciate you. If you have the ability to throw $5 or $10 my way, there is a link pinned in the chat, also in the description. I greatly appreciate that. Please support the channel and help me send my son to Florida. I'm sending my son to Florida. I'd just like to give him a few extra bucks. So if you guys could give to that, I would greatly appreciate it. He worked so hard, graduated high school, and also survived what I went through with me. When we go through narcissistic abuse, we're targeted by a person like that affects our children, and my son was affected. And as a matter of fact, I mean, just to mention this one thing, one of the ways attention was a reverse Hoover was attempted was by spreading rumors and destroying my son's graduation the night before he went to graduation. He's been affected by this as well, and I'm trying to give him some help. So thank you very much. Greatly appreciate you. And let's move on to. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you, Andrea. Thank you very much. But if you guys could, if you wish to donate, please do so with the PayPal or the Cash App. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much, Andrea. I gotta look and see what that is. Victory. Yeah, it's a victory for all of us. Andrea, appreciate you, honey. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on to one of my first and favorites. One of my first and favorites. Y'all know if you've been on this channel for a long time, Lisa Lou's my boo. The fire that this woman has, she feels about narcs like I do. F them. And and a lot of her content is geared toward helping women who have been through her situation. Lisa still endures some hoovering and things like things that we shouldn't have to deal with from these goblins. And she continues strong. She coaches people. She does not take shit. She points out the inconsistencies. She stands up for other women who are looking for that support, and men. Men are very well got a lot of experience and knowledge and strength and support from Lisa. But if you ladies out there are looking for a more feminine touch along with Shawn K Howerton, please check out Lisa Lou. She is fucking incredible. All right, let's start.
Grooming is a tactic used by a predator to trap their prey. Narcissists groom their victims. Love bombing is a tactic used by a narcissist. Love bombing is a form of grooming. Devaluation is a tactic used by a narcissist. Devaluation is a form of grooming. Discarding is a tactic used by a narcissist. Discarding is a form of grooming, especially when they put you back in that cycle and start love bombing you, devaluing you, and discarding again after they get you back. Gaslighting is a tactic used by a narcissist. Gaslighting is a form of grooming. Manipulation is a tactic used by a narcissist. Manipulation is a form of grooming. Grooming is abuse. Narcissists use grooming to secure their prey.
Absolutely. Anything you want to touch on first, Coach?
Yeah, no, I mean, Lisa, she's one of the best to do it. I've had very minimal, interaction with her, but, she is absolutely one of the best to do it. I've learned quite a bit from her. I would say that her intensity when she delivers, just right there. I mean, I feel scared to be groomed right now. I'm like, looking at every day, like, who's grooming me? Like she is able to really drill down to a fine emotion within that topic. So she's one of the best to do it.
Absolutely. And when she talks about this topic, like, I think we all of us that went through this, we were groomed, to a point in the understanding of the term. As I have spoken to women who have been through relationships with narcissistic men, semantic, overt or covert, they are insidious in how they groom women. For instance, there's a situation, no mention of names, there's a situation where an overt narcissist has a woman in his triangulation who has a child who's mixed. One of his devaluation tactics is to use the N-word, to call her an N-lover, to devalue, while using the child, while trying to maintain a positive connection with the child in this toxic home when they're there, in order to keep the victim of the abuse entrapped. Devaluing both of these people at the same time. The daughter is going to be going through puberty soon, and he is already grooming the daughter to accept behaviors due to how he treats the mother. The mother is accepting of the abuse and she's the toxicity, and literally showing her daughter, this is how you be treated by men, this is how you accept men, to a point where I hope not, but I suspect because of the level of deviancy that this narcissist is, he's going to begin grooming that young child at some point.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Okay. And nobody cares about this kid's health, you know, and I've seen this unfold over years. I've also was talking to a woman who understands another narcissist, high profile narcissist in the community, who she became attached to, started going out with and triangulated with amongst other women, all of which kind of know about one another and accept what's going on. This narcissist uses bondage as his kink, but he does it in such a way to keep a woman literally sequestered, to keep her tied down, ball gagged, held down. You're going to stay here for the next few hours while I go do somebody else. He will use drugs. He will use drugs to knock them out, like date rape drugs to knock them out, to do whatever he wants, or to whoever do whatever to these women. It's gotten to the point where when the final discards come around, he will sexually assault them. Wow. And the trauma bond is so strong. I at least know of one that returns to it. You know, just looking for that high and low. Yeah. The grooming is real when it comes to, and I think this has to do kind of with the gender dynamic between men and women, just our natural dynamics. Women look for men who lead, who are strong, who are providers and protectors. A narcissist twists all of that into a 180 and will take a damaged woman or an insecure woman and grooms them into accepting behaviors such as assault and this type of abuse, and then makes it into a family dynamic and turns it into passing on like generational trauma, passing it on to children. So when it comes to the topic of grooming, like I really do, I look at it, you know, we all are groomed and we're all kind of manipulated and treated a certain way and turned into a certain thing. But there are male narcissists out there, y'all, who are evil incarnate, that take our women out here, our sisters, our cousins, our mothers out here, and twist them and break them to a point where they accept assault, they accept things like this, and continue to go back. And that's so sad to me. So I think it's an important topic.
Yeah, so sad. Yeah, and I mean, to your point, like when it gets down to that family dynamics, I mean, the conditioning's so thick that, you know, they're allowing things to take place with even the kids at this point, you know, in this trauma bond. But I almost look at that, it's like, you know, it's crazy to me because we always have to remember there's like levels of this, right? Like to me, that kind of stuff is like, that's psychopath, that's sociopath.
That's psychopath, yeah.
Like you know, not Jeffrey Dahmer, who's the other famous, you know, Ted Bundy was a sociopath before narcissism was even cool. So it's like narcissism, like I think people, you know, confuse this. Everybody wants to call it a narcissist, but to me, that's next level shit. That's psychopath, right? That's worse than a narcissist. A typical narcissist, their weapon of choice is deception. Not necessarily assault like that or whatever. When you're going to that level, that's going to be like sadism, Machiavellism, and then you're dipping on the spectrum of sociopath, psychopath. That's really scary stuff there. Not narcissism too, but this, you know, when you're taking it to that next level of assault, physical, sexual assault, you're in bondage. Conditioning of kids to bring them up in that, you're talking about next level on the spectrum.
It really is, and it's mind-boggling to even wrap your mind around. If you're a parent, I mean, if you just love kids, if you just love have like just some love for other people, but this exists, guys. Like, you know, we talk about narcissists on this channel. I'm glad Randy brought that up because we talk about narcissists on this channel. But, you know, like malignant and higher, like in as far as like dysfunction, they exist. They are out there. They are trying to condition you. They are trying to destroy you. And their level, when you get to psychopaths, when you get to like psychopathy, their level of manipulation is a whole other sphere. Sam Vaknin did a video that I watched months ago where he was talking about the pecking order in the cluster B personality disorders. Excuse me. And he said, if a narcissist encounters a psychopath, they will be the psychopath's flying monkey because they recognize that as an apex predator. and they are not that powerful. This happens. A narcissistic woman runs into a psychopath. There's no challenge. A sociopath, no challenge. Sociopath, no challenge.
So crazy to me.
Yeah. So understand, when you hear stories about narcissistic behavior, involves all cluster Bs, but there's an entirely different level of evil when you are dealing with people who groom others, who are really grooming others, especially generationally, in order to facilitate their own sick self-grandialization and depravity. So if you ever see anything like that happen, guys, contact your local law enforcement, contact somebody. Do not let that slip by. This is a community of people who understands toxic behaviors, and we can see them. So if you see that happening to a family member or a friend, contact somebody. All right, let's move on. All right. Let's see.
Narcissists will do anything it takes to prove that there is absolutely nothing wrong with them. They will do anything to escape accountability, including, but not limited to, hooking up with the therapist. Let's take that in for a moment. Narcissists set out to prove that you are the abuser, they are the victim, and they will set their sights on the therapist. Each time you go to therapy, you leave more confused than the time before. And you go because you want that relationship to work, but you get gaslit the entire time. You're watching that narcissist manipulate the therapist, charm the therapist. You watch them smirk. As the therapist now gives you all the homework, you become secondarily abused by this therapist who's telling you what you're not doing, giving you all the homework. And that narcissist just wants vindication. Who better to clear their name and tell everybody that you were the problem in the relationship than hooking up with the therapist, coupling up with that therapist? Who better to give them vindication than a licensed medical professional, hand in hand with them, calling you crazy, telling everybody that you were the problem. Now, this is no shade to therapists. There are so many amazing therapists out there. And there are so many therapists out there that won't treat people with personality disorders because they know how manipulative they really are. But there are also therapists out there that have no clue as to what they're dealing with. And they become a narcissist prey. And it is solely to get back at you, to prove that you are the abuser, they are the victim, they are lovable, there is absolutely nothing wrong with them, and they have a licensed medical professional hand in hand with them corroborating that story. Narcissism.
Ooh, the reason I wanted to bring that one up is because I recently spoke with someone who went to a therapist, was going through narcissistic abuse, went to a therapist, and the therapist cleared them and said they were fine. And told them, you should, if you can't be in a relationship with that person, you should just be friends with them. No idea at all the level of manipulation, lies, bullshit, and scheming. None, coach.
They didn't know. Yeah. So, and I coach a lot of therapists. I coach a lot of therapists. And
really?
It's interesting. Yeah. So, and they never will tell me till the very end of the session, you know, and then they'll finally tell me, here's the thing, man, you don't know until you know, period. It doesn't matter. I always say it like this. Look, and there's no shade on therapy. I go to a therapist. She's extremely informed. She's been through narcissistic abuse. She understands it, so she can validate that. But the typical, therapist who's never, ever actually been through narcissistic abuse, they don't know. And it's like this. It's, okay, think about it like you want to go on a trip. You want to go on a vacation. You're going to take a plane. You have two pilots. You have one who's done 1,000 hours of classroom work but has never flown a plane. Then you have a guy who's flown 1,000 hours but never done an hour of classroom work. Who do you want to get on the plane with? I want to get on the plane with the guy who knows how to fly the plane because he's flown the plane before. So no shade on therapists, but I mean, she's dead on. This would be the best way for a narcissist to get validation and to make you out to be the bad guy even more and more, would be to be with the therapist, to get the therapist to validate them and to make it look like it's the other person's, issue. And this is what narcissists do. They're manipulators. They're just manipulators.
Yeah. I've heard stories that they go to therapy to learn how to become better manipulators.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The nature of the deception, living in that self-grandiozed world, that is something that a lot of us can't conceive of, right? Because we live in reality. our own perception, granted, we all have our own shortcomings and blind spots or whatnot, but we all have our own perspective, but we don't intentionally try to rewrite the fabric of reality in order to suit our selfish need. And narcissists have been doing this for years, decades, as long as they've been doing it. And I would imagine that for some, they would enjoy the thrill or challenge, like you were saying about how they get sociopaths and those types get off on, they get a positive fuel
of lying. They get dopamine off of lying, off of being able to control the narrative. Ha ha ha! Look at him. He fucking believes me, and this empowers them.
Yeah. So what more fuel could one get than going to a licensed professional and fooling them?
Absolutely.
And turning a therapist into a flying monkey.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens quite often, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't realize that actually until the last several months when I started talking to people. So you talk to therapists and you teach them.
They call me for recovery. So
Really?
I'm up to like 9 so far in the last year. 9 therapists that I've coached out of the 100 that I've done one-on-ones with. I've helped, I've talked to over probably 600 people at this point. But in terms of actual one-on-ones, I'm over 100. And 8, 9 of these, they're therapists. They're clinical psychologists, clinical therapists who had never been through this kind of thing. They understood all the terminology, all the behaviors, but they fell prey to a predator.
That is that's incredible.
It's humbling. It's very, very humbling. Because I again, just as Lisa had said, there's no shade on a therapy. I love therapists. I go to therapy. I've been in therapy my entire life at different intervals. But until you've gone through this madness, you don't know. Period.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? You're absolutely right. And thank you for that. You kind of enlightened me and brought me to another perspective where that's concerned. I appreciate that, Randy. So what's that's a positive thing, I think, right? Because you're helping them through it, but then you're also educating them, and then those therapists will be able to go out into the world, into their profession, and will be able to recognize those things.
Yeah, and a lot of them actually pay a lot of gratitude towards that. Not only have you helped me, but now I understand. Now I've been able to see it. Now they can kind of come up with better strategies in order to help other people, help them have their lights come on. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want. I can't fix anybody. The whole coaching style that I take is to get you to open up your eyes, to get you that light bulb to come on, to get you to have the aha moment. That's the most important thing, because once you go aha, then you're able to take the corrective action. But until you are able to really understand what's happening with you, it won't work.
Yeah, take that. All right, so we're going to close this one out. We got a 2-hour mark. Thank you to everybody for being here. Greatly appreciate you. All the survivors and thrivers out here. Thank you to the chat for talking, reinforcing one another, being so positive, and being the shining bright lights that you are. I greatly appreciate you. Coach, is there anything you'd like to promote before we sign off?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me back. I love doing these reviews. For anybody who doesn't already follow me, my name is Coach Randy. It's just that username on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, Coach Randy White.
All right. Thank you, Coach. And guys, please, if you've got a voice and you want to make it heard, create a TikTok, create an Instagram, create a YouTube channel, Rumble, whatever it is. If you have a story that you want to tell it. Don't be afraid to share your experiences, because sharing them may help someone else, give them the strength to battle through what they are. That's the greatest help that we can give to one another. And I am Lodonis, Ravenwolf, Dragonstorm, your seer and sage. Hail to my fellow survivors and thrivers from narcissistic abuse. Please remember to wash your hands, wash your ass, be good to each other. Yes, suffer no fools.
When you're born in this world, you're given a ticket to the freak show. And when you're born in America, you're given a front row seat.